Chapter 1 of The Seaboard Parish. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Ed Humple. The Seaboard Parish by George MacDonald. Chapter 1. Homiletic. Dear friends, I am beginning a new book like an old sermon. But as you know, I have been so accustomed to preach all my life, that whatever I say or write will more or less take the shape of a sermon. And if you had not by this time learned at least to bear with my oddities, you would not have wanted any more of my teaching. And indeed, I did not think you would want any more. I thought I had bidden you farewell. But I am seated once again at my writing table to write for you, with a strange feeling, however, that I am in the heart of some curious, rather awful acoustic contrivance, by means of which the words which I have a habit of whispering over to myself as I write them are heard aloud by multitudes of people whom I cannot see or hear. I will favor the fancy that, by a sense of your presence, I may speak the more truly, as man to man. But let me, for a moment, suppose that I am your grandfather, and that you have all come to beg for a story, and that, therefore, as usually happens in such cases, I am sitting with a puzzled face, indicating a more puzzled mind. I know that there are a great many stories in the holes and corners of my brain. Indeed, here is one, there is one, peeping out at me like a rabbit. But, alas, like a rabbit, showing me almost at the same instant the tail end of it, and vanishing with a contemptuous thud of its hind feet on the ground. For I must have suitable regard for the desires of my children. It is a fine thing to be able to give people what they want, if at the same time you can give them what you want. To give people what they want would sometimes be to give them only dirt and poison. To give them what you want might be to set before them something of which they could not eat a mouthful. What both you and I want, I am willing to think, is a dish of good wholesome venison. Now, I suppose my children around me are neither young enough nor old enough to care about a fairy tale, so that will not do. What they want is, I believe, something that I know about, that has happened to myself. Well, I confess that is the kind of thing I like best to hear anybody talk to me about. Let anyone tell me something that has happened to himself, especially if he will give me a peep into how his heart took it, as it sat at its own little room with the closed door, and that person will, so telling, absorb my attention. He has something true and genuine and valuable to communicate. They are mostly old people that can do so. Not that young people have nothing happen to them, but only that when they grow old they are able to see things right, to disentangle confusions, and judge righteous judgment. Things which at the time appeared insignificant or wearisome, then give out the light that was in them, show their own truth, interest, and influence. They are far enough off to be seen. It is not when we are nearest to anything that we know best what it is. How I should like to write a story for old people. The young are always having stories written for them. Why should not old people come in for a share? A story without a young person in it at all. Nobody under 50 admitted. It could hardly be a fairy tale, could it? Or a love story either? I am not so sure about that. The worst of it would be, however, that hardly a young person would read it. Now, we old people would not like that. We can read young people's books and enjoy them. They would not try to read old men's books or old women's books. They would be so sure of their being dry. My dear old brothers and sisters, we know better, do we not? We have nice old jokes with no end of fun in them, only they cannot see the fun. We have strange tales that we know to be true, and which look more and more marvelous every time we turn them over again. Only somehow they do not belong to the ways of this year. I was going to say week, and so the young people generally do not care to hear them. I have had one pale-faced boy, to be sure, who will sit at his mother's feet,
Sample complete. Ready to continue?